there, welcome back to Building the Boys. We now have issue 66 of Hachette's Build the Titanic. Excitingly, more hull. We like the hull, right? We're loving the hull. So we get a nice large chunk of hull in this one, which is the adjacent piece to what we've been building already on the hull. As fun as hull is, there's not a lot to it. So you kind of put the hull in, put some screws in, that's it, we're done. But man, it always makes such an impact. Growing that hull, ooh, beautiful thing. I am looking at this and seeing that we have to put 6 Allen screws into this one. You know how I feel about Allen screws, people, you know. So, yay, Allen screws. But let's get this one done. If you haven't yet, please remember to like and subscribe. That helps the channel massively. And we just love having you along for the ride because we are going all the way to the end of this one, issue 140, and we are dangerously creeping up on the halfway point. But without further ado, let's get into this. Let's get this built. Okay, so let's have a take a look at what we got in this issue. So there are our screws, all those Allen screws. That's going to be so much fun putting in Allen screws. 6 of them, wow. It's going to be fun. So this one should be a bracket. It is. So that's our bracket. And then this will be our very large piece of hull. There we go. So let's get this together. Okay, so this is the section we're working on. Now getting this in ain't gonna be the easiest. I can already see this is a awkward, weird angle. There we go. There we go. So we are using 6 LM screws. Oh, Allen key, Allen key, Allen key. How I dislike you. Using our old friend the Allen key. You know how I feel about the Allen key. It's not wow. Don't enjoy the Allen key. That's the point of the Allen key. I like a screwdriver. Yeah, okay. Now they are actually saying screw the bracket in first and then put this in, which I can see making sense. I'm doing it after though. We're already in. I'm not taking that back out to put this on. I don't think it's gonna make a difference. Right, so we are going to put in 6 LM screws. Oh, dear Lord. Right, so starting with this one here. Hey, it's not so bad, you know. This one's going in all right. What's happening here? That's not normal. I think it's because we got more space. Now, all you're seeing here is my bloody hands, but there we go. Well, bizarrely, that one went in smooth. Let's hope that remains. Let's hope that remains a thing. That'd be good, wouldn't it? All right, let's go to the other end and put one in here. My God, this one's going easy as well. What is happening here? 2 for 2 on easy Allen screws. What's happening there? That's not normal. That's not how this goes. Something's not right. Got a 3rd Allen screws going in here. Okay, amazingly. I don't know what's happening here. This isn't normal. This ain't normal. Okay. Last one. Holy hell. They all went in simple. That's not... Yeah, I don't know. I must have been a good boy in a former life or something, but that was 4 Allen keys in, 4 Allen bolts in very, very easily. And that makes me very happy. Yep, I'm happy with that. So, one thing left to do, and that's put a bracket in there. Now, this just screws in with normal screws. Now, here's the irony. The normal screws will probably be hard to put in. Oh, God. because they did say to do this first, so maybe you'll see why they're saying to do this first. So I'm going to get this screwed. I probably should have. No, but oh, there we go. But yeah, my screwdriver's coming for too long now, and I'm going to regret not doing this first. But we'll see. So I'm going to pop this one in here. Now, again, do it first. Do it the way they've said it if you want to. But there's no real problem there. There we go. That's one. Yeah, I mean, I'd do it first. It would be easier to put this on first. I just got all excited when I saw Hull. But this is no problem. I've had no problem doing this at all. So there's number 2. Just going into there. My old eyes can line this hole up. There we go. That's it. That's that bracket in. So we will have a support beam that is coming, I think, in 68. So that will be going in. So all this is going to pull together nicely as well. But that is it. Let's take a look at it. So these are the 2 sections we've installed in 65 and 66. Look at our lovely lady. She really is growing. Wow. Oh man, this is going to look stunning, isn't it? I mean, we just haven't done that much yet. There's still so much more holes to go. This thing's going to be an absolute beast, but my God, is she going to be beautiful. Let's have a chat. So that's that one done. And wow, come on, look at her now. Look at her now. Look at her now. It's looking beautiful, right? Look at this. Come on, man. So happy with that. That's it for Hull for this month, unfortunately. There's no more Hull for this month. There's no more Hull for next month either. We are moving on to the Promenade deck in issue 67. That will be coming up immediately after this one. If you are just sticking around for the build instructions, thank you for stopping by. It's always nice to see you. If you're sticking around for our Titanic talk, this is a sad one, right? But it's necessary to tell the tale. It is a sad one. It does involve children, but I'll tell you before we go in, the children live, okay? So if you're worried about the children live, right? So just see, you think if this is about dead kids, no, it's not, the children live, but this is a remarkable story, and this story itself, it sounds like something from a Danielle Steele novel or a Hollywood movie. It's that kind of plot where this happened, and it involves these 2 children here, which were known by another name. So it's these 2 children. Now, those 2 little boys were known as the Hoffman orphans. The Hoffman orphans. And they were traveling with their father, the widower, Lewis M. Hoffman. Now, if you go and check the Titanic manifest, what you won't find is anyone called Lewis M. Hoffman, and you certainly won't find Mom and Leland Hoffman, which those children are introduced as. You won't find them. The reason why you won't find them is because that was not their names. So who were they, and why were they on board, and why were they the Hoffman orphans? Well, we have to go back a little further. So their father's name was actually Michel Navratil. That was his name, Michel Navratil. And he had a very scandalous divorce from his wife, Marcella. It was a nasty divorce. It was played out quite publicly. And it was over Marcella's infidelities. So they had sadly divorced, which was quite the scandal in 1912. That was quite... It was a big deal. It was a big deal. This didn't happen. So divorce was a big scandal. They had fought for custody of the children. Both of them fought through the courts to get custody of the boys. The boys' names were actually Michel Jr. And Edward Navratil. That's who they were. They were not the Hoffmans. So where's the name Hoffman coming from? Well, Marcella did actually get custody of the children, but this is hard. This is a horrible story. So Marcel wanted to see his boys. He wanted to see them. He wanted to spend time with them. He was a very, very loving father. And he was permitted to have them for Easter holidays. They were young, so they were only 3 and 2 at the time. And Marcel was going. They were going to stay with Marcel for the Easter break. Marcel decided that he was going to take the children to New York without Marcella knowing. So he bought 3 tickets for the Titanic, with the thought of taking his children and being with them, taking them to New York. I don't agree with it, but that's why he did what he did, because I don't know what was going through his head at the time. Well, I do, because again, this story takes a twist. I do know what was going through his head at the time. He was a man broken. He was a man missing his children. And even though the infidelities and the divorce, he was a man that was clearly missing his ex-wife, Marcella. So he decided he was going to take his children to New York. He was going to be with them. And that's what he did. So he did his moonlight flip with the children. They boarded Titanic in France as second-class passengers. Marcel then proceeded to introduce himself to people as Louis M. Hoffman, and these were his children, Maman, Lulu. So everyone knew them as the Hoffman orphans. He told people that he was the widower. So the children had no mother. They only had him, which is where a problem arises. So the night Titanic hits the iceberg, Marcel gets the children, and he is frantic in what's happening. It takes him a long time to get to a lifeboat. He manages to get to the last lifeboat that's leaving Titanic, and he manages to get his children onto the lifeboat, but he cannot get on the lifeboat, but he gets both of the boys into the lifeboat. Now, Marcel Jr., who was only 3 years old, about to turn 4 at the time, remembers vividly the last words his father said to him as he put them in the lifeboat. He said to them, "When your mother comes for you, which she surely will, I want you to tell her I love her. I always loved her and I never stopped loving her. My plan was that she would follow us to New York and we would live together peacefully and freely in the new world." That was his plan. His plan was to run to New York. Marcel would follow, and maybe she could see that they could be somewhere away from everybody and maybe they could rekindle their relationship. But Marcel's dying act was to get his children into the lifeboat, and give his final message. Those were his last words. And it chokes me up that he was just a desperate man at that point, missing his babies, missing his woman. And it's a heartbreaker, it really is. It's upsetting, but as a father, we know what we do. We know it's not right what Marcel did. To take the children like that was not right. It was not okay, and I'm certainly not condoning that, but I understand. I don't think it makes him a monster. I think it makes him human, I think is what it does. And I think we all say what we would do and what we wouldn't do, but who knows? Faced with that situation, who knows how we'd react and who knows what we'd do. And bless him. He had a plan, a very misguided plan, but I mean, ultimately he did the fatherly thing. He made sure those kids were safe. But a new problem arose because the children were French speaking. They were very kindly found by a French woman who took care of them until they reached New York. But that was then the problem, because as far as everyone's concerned, these were the children of a widower, so therefore they were now the Hoffman orphans because they have no parents. They became very much part of the media circus. So when they were looking for kind of what's the next Titanic story, the Hoffman orphans, the Navratil orphans, became big news. Who are these children? Who are they? Does anyone know who they are? Do we know whether there's an auntie? Do we know there's an uncle? We need to get them together. It was then that Marcella, back in France, had now seen her babies, had seen her children on the headlines, and now knows what had happened and where they were. And she was reunited with the boys, but she wasn't reunited with them until May the 19th. So over a month later, Marcella was able to get to New York and be reunited with the children, where Marcel Jr. passed on his father's dying message of love. I don't know how Marcella felt about that. There's never been any recorded how she felt about it, or she was angry, if she was sad, if she would have gone and been with them, who knows. But I mean, ultimately Marcella did go to New York. So Michel was right in his kind of assumption that it would mean she'd get there, just not under the circumstances he'd have hoped. It's very sad. I mean, Michel Jr. Recounted kind of his experience, and he said that he was excited by the whole thing. He didn't really understand. He was little. He didn't understand what was going on, and this was a big adventure. I'm going with the Titanic. I'm getting this little ship, and he describes being lowered down was exciting, like gleefully exciting, because he didn't understand. He didn't understand what was actually happening. He didn't understand the severity of the situation. But he remembers it being exciting, so he wasn't scared. The children said they weren't scared when it happened. This was an adventure. But what a sad story. I mean, he was a broken man, and he saved the kids. Ultimately, is what he did. You can argue that he put the kids in that situation, but he didn't know what was going to happen on Titanic. Happened on Titanic, did he? But that is all for this one. Don't mean to bum you out, but it's one of the stories. I think it's important that we tell as many of the stories of the people that were on the Titanic as we can. It's what keeps them alive. History keeps them alive, and they will always be around until everybody, as long as someone remembers them, no one truly dies. If their memory is kept alive, people are immortal. That's the way it is, and I think it's important we tell these stories. I mean, we know everything about engines of the Titanic and this, that, and the other, but this is why I like to tell the human stories of the Titanic, because every single person on board that ship, it affected their life and the lives of literally thousands of others, the knock-on effect of it. And I think it's an important story to tell, I do. That's all from me. In a world where you can be anything at all, just be nice. Please remember to both like and subscribe, and we will catch you very, very soon for issue 57 of Hachette's Build the Titanic. I will see you then.